It seems that our culture is obsessed with entrepreneurship and picking yourself up by your bootstraps, but I don't hear enough people talk about what's underneath that, what the fundamental orientation towards life is that makes this way of life, this entrepreneurial mindset actually succeed and thrive. I'm not talking about hustle, business strategy. I'm talking about the intersection between deep mental and emotional resilience and entrepreneurship. And so in this video, I want to talk about the intersection between Zen and entrepreneurship, particularly how Zen as a practice builds the exact mental and emotional skills that we entrepreneurs need to thrive. And so if you're an entrepreneur, you probably know it's chaotic, it's unpredictable. You'll face rejection, criticism, failure is like almost a daily occurrence. And some of the things that might happen, you'll pour your heart into products that nobody wants. You'll make strategic decisions that blow up in your face. And the core principle here is that if you're identified too strongly with these outcomes, you're going to suffer tremendously. And this is what leads to burnout, I believe. I've seen it happen to so many people that tie their sense of self into their business. And then when the business struggles, they take it personally. When a potential client says no, they feel rejected as a person. This creates a kind of psychological rigidity that makes it almost impossible to pivot, adapt, and actually succeed. And so, in order to understand why Zen practice is the perfect foundation for entrepreneurship, I want to dive in and take a look at what Zen actually develops in the mind. I'm not talking about just building mindfulness or, greater presence. I'm talking about viewing Zen like as a tradition and understanding that it's a comprehensive training system for the mind, and to see that it develops exactly the capacities that entrepreneurs need most. So the first principle I want to talk about of Zen is non-attachment to outcomes. In Zen, you learn to give your full effort without being attached to results. You sit down on the cushion, you practice, and then you let go. And this is what entrepreneurs need to do. You make your pitch, build your product, run your marketing campaign, and then you detach from the outcomes. You're not detaching emotionally. Like you don't become detached. You still have there's still a strong emotional investment in what you're doing, but you're not identified with the results. You can look at it more objectively. You can put your heart and soul into something, but then if it doesn't work, you don't take it personally because you realize that whether or not it works, it's not a reflection on who you are as a human being. And so if you do this, you can pivot quickly because your ego isn't in the way. This doesn't mean you don't care about results. It means you care so deeply about your work that you don't let the fear of failure stop you from taking unnecessary risks. And this non-attachment extends to your identity as well. When you're deep in Zen practice, you start to see that yourself is a much more fluid and flexible thing than you thought. And this is key for entrepreneurs because it means you can try on different roles, products, you can try on different business models without feeling like you're betraying who you are. I personally know entrepreneurs who are so identified with being a tech founder or an AI agency owner that they couldn't pivot to a different model when it was clearly the right move. Their identity was getting in the way of their success. And with Zen practice, you develop the exact ability to hold your identity lightly. And this gives you the freedom to adapt. And so the second major principle about Zen that I want to talk about here is equanimity. As you go deeper into Zen practice, you develop a mind that can handle both success and failure without getting knocked off center. And this is, again, absolutely crucial for entrepreneurship. I think you can start to see how the mental fragilities of the fragilities of the mind that make entrepreneurship difficult are the very things that Zen alleviates. Say one day you land a huge client and then the next day your entire company crashes. One week you're featured in a major news outlet and the next, you're getting rejected by prospects over and over again. Equanimity is the skill that will allow you to manage these ups and downs without destroying you. When I first started my business, I would ride these emotional waves and it was utterly exhausting. A good day would have me feeling invincible and a bad day would have me questioning everything. And the Zen practice of just observing our entire felt experience, our thoughts, emotions, felt sense, and being able to see that it is all part of the pattern of our experience and that none of it is actually who we are. This helps us, and this orientation towards our experience helps us to develop the capacity to maintain mental stability regardless of the external circumstances. And that stability is, one of the foundational principles to successful entrepreneurship, I believe. And so Shinzen Young has this idea that there's basically three core skills that all meditation practices and all traditions give us. One is deep concentration, one is equanimity, and the one is sensory clarity. And so sensory clarity is being able to allow emotions and felt experiences to be felt fully and clearly. And if you've ever dived into psychology before, you understand trauma. There's like trauma lives in the body. It's this stuck experience in the body. And Zen, I believe, is the most effective way of resolving trauma in the body, because this foundational aspect of the teaching, which is sensory clarity. When you experience something painful in its totality, you are letting it move through and kind of dissolve. Most people don't have the mental fortitude to experience their emotional state with pure sensory clarity. And so that's why, as entrepreneurs, the winding, crazy chaoticness of entrepreneurship, sensory clarity and equanimity are going to be powerhouse skills that you will have. And so that kind of like builds the foundation for you to maintain persistence, discipline, and all of the core skills needed to continue moving towards your goal. But the third skill that Shinzen Young talks about is deep concentration. Your ability to keep focus on one object, whether it's the breath, whether it's a mental image, whether it's a deliverable, a project, a campaign that you're running. And that is what is the condition for flow state to arise. So when we have this deep concentration and when we commit with discipline to our business, and have this ability to focus on one thing and enter deep sustained concentration, we're going to move 10 times faster than entrepreneurs that can't do this, because we can do in hours what would take others days, right? This depth of concentration will allow us to tap into flow state, which is crucial for creative tasks like product development and marketing. And when you're developing a new product or crafting a marketing message, you need to access creative insights that aren't available just through analytical thinking alone. And so this deep concentration developed through Zen practice, I believe, creates the perfect conditions for creativity to flourish. Your mind becomes quiet enough to hear the subtle intuitions and connections that lead to these breakthrough ideas. And, many entrepreneurs try to force creativity through brainstorming sessions or by consuming endless content. But Zen practitioners understand that true creativity often emerges out of stillness. How does the old saying go? It's like the lotus out of the mud, right? When your mind isn't cluttered with thoughts about what competitors are doing or worries about if this is going to fail, you create this spaciousness for creative thinking to arise. And this is why so many successful entrepreneurs, they go on these, I think Jeff Bezos does these like week-long sessions where he just reads books and, isolates himself. And Jack Dorsey is deep into meditation practice as well, I believe. As you can see how some of the most powerful founders in the world, they engage in these practices. There has to be something to it. So the last skill I want to talk about is what I call chaos comfort. Entrepreneurs live in chaos. There are always too many tasks, too many decisions, too many unknowns. And most entrepreneurs try to fight against this chaos. They try to control everything with elaborate systems and plans. But Zen takes a completely different approach. It teaches you to find clarity within that chaos, not by trying to eliminate the chaos, but by changing your relationship to it. Through regular Zazen, you develop a mind that can be stilled and focused, even amid distraction. You'll learn to see the patterns where others only see noise, and you maintain your clarity of focus, your clarity of intention, and experience, ultimately, when everyone else would be panicking. And this ability to find clarity within the complexity is invaluable in making key decisions under pressure, which is basically what entrepreneurship is at its core. This pressure-tested decision-making all day, every day, makes Zen the perfect skill and the perfect discipline for entrepreneurs. And not the kind of forced discipline that burns you out, but it's the kind of consistent showing up that builds mastery over time. Zen is fundamentally a practice. You do it every day, whether you feel like it or not, and this builds the discipline muscle that transfers directly to entrepreneurship. The discipline to keep going when you don't see immediate results, the discipline to do the unglamorous work that nobody will ever applaud you for, the discipline to stick with one thing long enough to become truly excellent at it. These are the foundations of entrepreneurial success, and they're exactly what Zen practice cultivates. What's fascinating to me is that Zen and entrepreneurship form this perfect ecology of practices that complement and reinforce each other perfectly. Entrepreneurship gives you this real world challenges that test and deepen your Zen practice, while Zen gives you the mental and emotional tools to navigate entrepreneurship successfully. And so when you're not attached to your identity, you can try different products, projects, and business models without feeling like you're betraying yourself. You can pivot based on market feedback rather than ego. And when criticism doesn't feel personal, you can actually hear it and learn from it. When rejection doesn't define you, you can make those sales calls without fear. One of the most beautiful aspects of this relationship is how Zen helps you engage more deeply with entrepreneurship, not less. Many people think that spiritual practice might make you less committed to worldly success, but actually the opposite happens. When you're not identified with outcomes, you can throw yourself completely into the work because your ego isn't at stake with each success or failure. I don't believe Zen is abstract philosophy. It's as practical as it gets. Zen builds exactly the mental and emotional capacities that entrepreneurship demands. And the beautiful thing here is that these two practices, the ancient practice of Zen and the modern practice of entrepreneurship, form this perfect ecology that can transform not just your business, but your entire experience of life itself. Both are paths to mastery. Both demand your full presence. Both develop resilience through continual practice. And the Zen entrepreneur doesn't escape the challenges of building a business. They instead develop the capacity to meet those challenges with greater sensory clarity, greater equanimity, and unwavering concentration. In doing so, they discover that the greatest venture isn't the business they're building, but the person that you become through the process of building the business itself. And that is the takeaway here. Zen deepens us into these spiritual ideals. With greater Zen practice, we develop a deeper understanding of reality itself. It's not just like we're becoming more present. No, we're peering into deeper and deeper layers of reality. We're seeing the profound in the mundane. And in doing so, that gives us the meaningfulness and the vividness of life to be able to attune to what in our business we need to focus on the most, and also gives us the mental fortitude and resilience to handle everything that a business might throw into our face. So I hope this perspective was interesting for you. It was definitely interesting to me. Last week I attended a Zen Sesshin. It's like a silent retreat. We did about 20 hours give or take, of silent meditation over the course of 2 days. And in going into these practices, this is what birthed this video. This idea was birthed in the heart of a 12-hour sustained day of Zen sitting. I started to realize all of these connection points, all of these correlations between Zen practice and entrepreneurship, and it's truly inspiring to me to see how entrepreneurship can be a spiritual process, because it requires that we develop the mental traits that are very analogous to Zen. But I don't think entrepreneurship in and of itself is a spiritual process. I think it's only a spiritual process when we actually tie it to the practice, right? And Zen isn't at all related to entrepreneurship unless we make it, right? And so I think the choice for us is, can we take these two seemingly disparate things, entrepreneurship and Zen practice, and can we use Zen to deepen entrepreneurship, and can we use our entrepreneurship process to deepen into Zen, or to deepen into our practice of confronting all of reality and developing the mental faculties to see reality more clearly. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope you found this valuable, and have a beautiful rest of your day.